I would like, okay, we are recording this. If it's all right for everyone, we will be recording our forum.
Yes.
I'd like to thank the presence of everyone today. We are expecting 50 people, and we are really excited about this turnout. I'd like to thank the presence of Consul General Maria Lourdes Salcedo and her staff. I'd like to thank the presence of councillors from Maribyrnong, Wyndham, and Melton councils, from the Victoria Police, the strategic advisor, representative from Victorian Multicultural Commission, and a number of mainstream and specialist family violence agencies. May I ask, as a matter of housekeeping, for everyone to please put your microphones into mute as we go through a number of speeches and discussions. And we are going to have an open forum later on. So that's when you can open your microphones. So I'd like, if I go back to the welcome, I'd like to also welcome all the Filipino community leaders and members of the media who are with us today. I would like to encourage you later on to use the chat section to comment and give your feedback as we proceed with the program. And before the closing, we would also appreciate if you can write on the chat your feedback about the entire forum. Okay, let's start with our speakers. Consul General Maria Lourdes Salcedo has been a career diplomat for more than 25 years. Before being assigned to Australia, she was assigned to Vietnam and Myanmar, respectively, and before then to several posts in the Department of Foreign Affairs in the Philippines. The Filipino community is indeed blessed to have Consul General Salcedo leading a vibrant and full consulate in Melbourne now. So ladies and gentlemen, Consul General Maria Lourdes Salcedo.
Thank you. Thank you, Melba. Such a generous introduction, but congratulations to the Silent Witness Network in contributing to public discourse to help families and communities respond to a society failing, more commonly known as domestic violence. A big thanks to our guest today, Deputy Mayor Anthony Tran, Chow M, councillors of our several regions. I have here names Jennie, Cook, Jasmine, Kathy, Susie, Susan, Julie, Adele, Ashley, and others, as well as the Victoria Police Commissioner, the board member and President Zakia, and other organizations such as the Victoria Multicultural Commission, involved in the advocacy of strengthening family and community relations. Big thanks to you all. Congratulations, Melba, May, and the other movers and shakers. I understand that the Filipino community was the first ethnic group to have raised the issue of family violence in Australia way back in the 1980s. Is that right? Yeah. Well, sadly, after 3 decades of hard work, we still encounter this blight in our communities we call domestic or family violence. This couldn't be more graphic with the tragic death of Cherry Herente Ogar in Port Hughes, South Australia a month ago. It could have been preventable, according to officials that I've spoken with. Our honorary consul on the ground, Mr. Daryl Johnson, who was dealing with police, hospital, the coroner, and the distraught 19-year-old daughter, Angela. Mother and daughter are still on a bridging visa, having arrived in Australia only in 2019, before the pandemic. So I believe the project Ugnayan, as you call it, has put together a family safety leadership course to train community members and leaders understand why violence occurs within families and perhaps promote measures to prevent it. As they say, an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. That's the old saying. But of course, this problem is to be taken in a holistic manner. And that's why we have also the participation of the police, uh, the judicial system, and so on, social work, and so on. The challenge is how to transpose this knowledge and set of skills into practical and useful measures to address our problems. Perhaps we ought to step out of the box and see how we can minimize or even eliminate family violence to breed a new, happy generation of families. I shall keep an open mind and listen intently to your exchanges today. I will be happy to take those practical recommendations to the attention of the ambassador in Canberra, other officials in the Philippines, and perhaps the Australian embassy in Manila to improve policies and programs so we can address better these problems at hand. So with that, thank you for inviting me, and let's have a good discussion. Salamat po.
No voice, Melba.
We can't hear you, Melba.
Please unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry, it's mine. Thank you so much. We call her Congen. That's a very endearing term that we call our authorities, you know, Congen, Deputy Congen, things like that. Anyway, so she's here to actually really listen and very proactively try to help us move forward. Now, the Silent Witness Network is a multicultural organization committed to advocacy, community education, and training for primary prevention of family violence. In 2018, we received some funding from the state government to raise awareness of the Filipino community in the Western region to act on family violence. In 2020, TSWN was successful in receiving community grants from the cities of Wyndham and Maribyrnong to engage Filipinos within their respective local council areas in primary prevention of family violence. It is the cumulative outcomes of these projects that really we would like to present to you today. As a community development process, working with a specific community takes time, particularly on an issue that is seen as taboo by its members. However, the Filipinos in Australia, and particularly in Melbourne, have a long history of fighting family violence. It was the Filipino community that first raised the alarm in Australia about the high incidence of family violence in the 1970s and 80s, which then peaked in the 1990s. In 1991, a decade-long national campaign was waged by the Filipino community, led by the Center for Philippine Concerns, to raise public awareness on the murders and disappearances of Filipino women. This campaign has partly been responsible to the legislation of the family violence provisions to the Immigration Act of 1995, which is a milestone in family law reform. Hence, it was not a surprise that TSWN decided to begin its family violence primary prevention work with the Filipino community. We are honored today to have with us councillors representing the local councils that help us implement our projects. So now I would like to introduce to you the Deputy Mayor of the City of Maribyrnong. Councillor Anthony Tran is a local resident who's serving his first term on council. The son of Vietnamese refugees, Councillor Tran credits his parents for instilling in him the importance of community. Councillor Tran hopes to improve local infrastructure, promote community safety, and seeks to make mental health support accessible to all. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Councillor Anthony Tran.
Thank you so much, Melba, and thank you so much to the Silent Witness Network. I appreciate the invitation. I think before I continue, I'd like to make an acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm joining this event today from the lands of the Wurundjeri Wurrung people and the Boonwurrung people, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. I'd also like to acknowledge our special guests. You've already done that, Melba, but I'd like to pay my own respects to my fellow Councillor Cooklam, who I'm not sure is in the event today, to my fellow councillors from the City of Wyndham and the councillors of the City of Melton, as well as to the Council General Lourdes Salcedo. I'm so sorry if I said your name wrong, but I also
nice name, Mariah.
And I'd like to acknowledge the representative for the Assistant Commissioner. So just a bit on, I guess, the City of Maribyrnong, what we do. So advocating for the prevention of family violence within a culturally diverse community is important in creating a welcoming and healthy community, which falls in line with our Towards Gender Equity 2030 strategy. And this strategy was endorsed by Council in 2019 and sets our vision and approach for preventing violence against women and promoting gender equity, both within the community and within our organization. So Council, as a part of this strategy, has partnered with local organizations and settings to deliver on a number of actions and to respond to family violence, to promote respectful and healthy relationships and ensure that our policies and programs and environments consider specific impacts of gender on health and well-being. So in March this year, the Victorian Gender Equity Act came into effect, essentially requiring that all councils have a gender equity action plan and to publicly report on their progress. As such, Council is currently working on our own gender equity action plan, which will be finalized as of December this year. The City of Maribyrnong has a long-standing commitment to preventing family violence and to further gender equity within our community, ensuring that opportunities for success are equally available regardless of gender. Sort of to conclude, what I'm saying here is that we all have a role to play, in particular Council, in preventing family violence and ensuring that this community is one that we can all be proud of, and one that supports, gender equity. Council particularly is proud to support the You Are Not Alone program that is run by the Silent Witness Network. And on a more personal note, I would like to thank Melba and the Silent Witness Network team for putting this together. I think it's incredible work. Obviously, the long hours you will put in, and of course, the more hours to come when the program does come to fruition. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Anthony. And you can rely on the Silent Witness Network to be working with Council on its approaching gender equity or equality plan. Now, let's listen to another councillor. Councillor Barrera is also in her first term in the Wyndham Council, and she has lived in Werribee for 30 years now. I've known Jennie for many years because of our common passion of improving the lives of culturally diverse communities. Her paid job is as CEO of the Wyndham Community and Education Center. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Councillor Jennie Barrera.
Thank you, Melba. Thank you for that lovely welcome. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Can I also acknowledge, please, that today I'm coming to you from the lands of the Wadawurrung and Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nations, and I pay respects to elders past, present, and those emerging. Can I also acknowledge the Consul General, Maria Lourdes Salcedo, Councillor Anthony Tran, other councillors, my councillor colleagues from Wyndham. We've got our mayor here today, Councillor Adele Hegedich, Councillor Jasmine Hill, and Councillor Susan McIntyre, and other distinguished guests. Thank you for having me today. Can I also pay tribute and thank everyone within the Silent Witness Network for hosting this event, and to the ever tireless Melba Marginson, been working in this area for decades. Melba, you do great work, and we only need to look today at the size of the number of people here at this online gathering to just appreciate how profoundly your values and vision continue to inspire our community. With little more than hard work and dedication, the Silent Witness Network has continuously helped people in their greatest hour of need, responded to crises, mentored and educated with understanding, fostered support groups, empowered newly arrived migrants, and all the while, you've pushed our community to reach for its most generous, selfless, and compassionate character. Today's event therefore gives us the chance to say thank you and to showcase the wide range of outcomes from this council-funded project. And while I'm buoyed by the outcomes of this project and the message it conveys, I'm also deeply saddened by the need for such a project. Family violence stains every Australian. It harms our communities, it tarnishes our identity, and it's an affront to our morality, our sense of righteousness, and our conviction that each of us is equally entitled to basic human rights and values. As we all know, family violence was for too long seen as a private matter, best hidden behind closed doors. Victims, as well as their children, were left to suffer in silence. And as a consequence, abuse could go on for years. We've made great strides since that time. We've changed our laws, we've transformed our culture, and we've improved support services. And we've done so in no small part because of the advocacy of community organisations such as yours and the willingness of victims to tell their own stories despite the hardship that entails. But everyone in this room understands that the work is far from finished. In Australia today, 1 in 3 women will experience physical violence. 1 in 5 has been exposed to sexual violence, and 1 woman per week is killed by her partner or former partner. And that's just the official toll, with less than half the abuse being reported. These are tragedies. They're tragedies that touch our souls, and they call us to action. We can't change the past, and we can't undo the heartache it's caused. But what we can do, and what we must do, is commit to a future which builds upon the progress we've made, continues to raise awareness of the issue, and takes real action to bring it to an end. We need to ask not only how we can do away with this scourge, but also how we can collectively address the inequalities and the attitudes on which this scourge thrives. While this can appear to be an overwhelming challenge, we need to only look at the spirit and the dedication of everyone working right here to know that it can be overcome. Look at the people and the organisations who have seen the work done here and who have been inspired to do their part. We can look at all the women you've given voice and hope to, and the lives you've changed, and all those who were helped in their time of need, who then went on to help others. That's the extraordinary impact that this wonderful organisation has had. May we each strive to make that kind of difference in our own lives, and may you continue to set a powerful moral example for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jennie. Your words have truly uplifted the morale of our board members and volunteers and staff, because we have been really struggling for support over years now. And you know that as far back as 1990s, you know, we have been working on how we can reduce family violence in the Filipino community markedly. But we are still, we do still have a lot of those cases. And we will have the survivors attesting, witnessing today during the panel. Now, let us hear. Mind you, if you can be most welcoming to our current staff. We only have 2 part-time staff at the Silent Witness Network, with the meager funding that we get from the governments. So let us hear now from the TSWN coordinator, Mayred Safra, who will present the outcomes of our family violence prevention work within the Filipino community since we started in 2018. And by the way, Mayred, don't forget to acknowledge the presence of Moshe. Yes. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for coming to the Silent Witness Network You Are Not Alone forum. My name is May, and perhaps some of you I've sent email to or called to. And today I will share with you the works and activities that TSWN has been doing for the past 2 years for Project Ugnayan. And of course, I would like to acknowledge the work of our previous project officer, Morsha, and of course, all our volunteers who are here today. Can you all see my presentation? Just
No,
give
we
me
can't
one
yet.
second.
It's not there yet.
Thank you. Okay. We have conducted community consultation through a survey that we have sent to our Filipino community leaders, workers, and members. And we are able to gain invaluable insights from our 50 respondents to this survey. As you can see, 90% of our respondents are aware of family violence. And the respondents from the Filipino communities seek information from different sources. As you can see here from the chart, it is quite interesting to see that the 2 most popular sources of information are online related. 40% from social media and 20% from the internet. They also seek information from different sectors in our community, which the highest one is 15% from family and friends. But it's also interesting to see that community services has a data of 10%, 5% for the police, and 2% from our local councils. Finally, 8% of our respondents claim that they get information from television. This data is valuable because it tells us where to disseminate crucial information that could reach our community. With respect to support seeking, while 60% of the respondents did not seek support, 28% of the respondents still seek support for someone else, and 12% sought support for themselves. It is also worth mentioning that the total of 46% of the respondents have provided support for either a friend or someone they know on issues related to family violence. This survey has given us a significant understanding on the needs of the community, which varies from primary prevention activities to support and service referrals. This information is vital to organizations like us so we can tailor our projects to address the needs of our community. In the past 2 years, Project Ugnayan has created digital and printed materials such as posters, brochures, and postcards. This is an example of a digital poster showing the myths in family violence. This poster is written in Filipino, as you can see, and translated in English. These are posted on different social media platforms and shared to different Filipino social media pages. This is one example of a brochure that we have. It contains information about useful contacts and on how members of our community can be proactive in the primary prevention of family violence. These brochures were distributed to different large and small events in our community. This is another brochure that talks about who we are, the overview of our projects, and the issues surrounding family violence. These brochures were also given to Filipino organizations and were shared to community members. Project Ugnayan staff and volunteers also created these postcards that promote respectful and safe families, and these were sent out to community members. TSWN has also conducted several face-to-face workshops and forums. This family prevention workshop was attended by community leaders and volunteers, and they learned the family safety leadership course. This is one of the face-to-face forum, which is particularly focused on the role of men and boys in the prevention of family violence. But because of the lockdown, the activities had to be conducted online. So online forums were done in partnership with Good Vibes Filipinas, a Filipino media organization. We had conducted 4 online forums. The first one is information session about family violence with Miss Melba and Miss Marcia. The second one is family violence provisions on the immigration law and pertinent visas, conducted by Mr. Paul Deason, a registered migrant agent. The third one is domestic violence and the role of police by Acting Sergeant Gerard De Leon. And the last one is the family violence, its psychological consequences with Miss Cristina Borromeo, a Filipina Councillor. We have also recorded 4 podcasts, and although the podcasts are in Filipino, the transcripts were translated to English so members of our multicultural community can also read them. The first topic talks about the forms of abuse and the figure in family violence and its adverse impacts, particularly on children. Then there's a story of Anna, not her real name, who shares her experience and realizations as a survivor of domestic violence. It is followed by Raya's experience of being in an intercultural relationship and how the couple navigate through their differences to sustain a healthy, safe, and respectful relationships. The final episode of our podcast is from resilience coach Reverend Eric Maliwat, who gives us insight on how religion, particularly Christianity in this podcast, can play a role in the prevention of family violence. For International Women's Day this year, TSWN invited women leaders in the Filipino community for a short video clip challenging all women to stand against any forms of discrimination. TSWN also has a helpline, started a helpline, which will be discussed by Ms. Lara, our helpline worker, later on. We also continue to conduct forums such as this one. Throughout the project, Project Ugnayan has received widespread media coverage from print media and community radio stations and broadcasts. TSWN would like to ask your continued support for our future projects, which include the setting up of helpline for other called communities, continuous forums and workshops, creations of digital resources, mentorship programs, and other social activities. Once again, we would like to thank our funding bodies, the Victoria State Government, Maribyrnong City Council, Wyndham City Council, Brimbank City Council, and Mercy Foundation. Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much.
Maraming salamat. Thank you. Now, as you can see, there are already 60 people with us today in this forum. It exceeded our expectation. We were hoping to have only 50, but we are now 60. So it's really good. We're excited. Now, let us listen to our helpline support worker, Lara Cristina Cruz, who has been with us since last year. So let's welcome her.
Hi, everyone.
We see you.
Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm Lara Cruz, the Filipino support worker of the SWN. So what is the TSWN
Lara,
helpline?
Lara, would you like to make it a slideshow?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay. So what is the TSWN helpline? So the TSWN helpline is a phone number to call by Filipino community members experiencing individual and family issues, where a dedicated support worker answers, talks to caller in her language, assesses the required assistance. A support worker undertakes risk assessment, and the client is referred to appropriate services using a referral network of mainstream and specialist services. The client receives follow-up calls from the support worker, and the support worker guides the client in navigating the system. And when needed, support worker provides counseling to client. Why was the Filipino helpline established? So even before the pandemic occurred, the TSWN had already in mind the setting up of an specific referral system. There's a demand from Filipino community leaders and workers that culturally sensitive referral response be established due to the lack of cultural sensitivity in existing mainstream family violence service system widely. Here are some of the obvious reasons why an ethno-specific service is required by Filipino victims of family violence. Cultural factors such as shame and stigma. Filipino victims of family violence are hesitant to speak up about their situation. Often, they do not know how and where they can get help. Due to language and cultural barriers, they are reluctant to use mainstream services. They rely on friends and family members who do not have the right information and skills to make an effective referral or response. They post anonymous calls for help or inquiries on Filipino Facebook pages, but when the situation is already extremely serious. And this is the existing model that we are implementing at present. When I receive a call, I undertake the necessary assessment, and these are the specialist services I refer the client to. Services on family violence, children welfare, legal and migration, counseling, sexual assault, emergency 000. The factors that contribute to and exacerbate Filipino experience of family violence. Some of the factors are cultural, meaning individualist versus collectivist cultures, age difference, language, culture shock, shame, what others will think, educational background, financial, and I quote, I spend so much money on you. Partner's unknown history of abuse and family violence, the Filipino value of utang na loob or debt of gratitude, Filipino women's concept of suffering and martyrdom, and men's power and privilege over women, which is a universal thing. This is a profile of a few clients I have under the TSWN helpline. For example, Pilar is age 50, under partner's visa. Her perpetrator is Australian, age 59. Pilar's situation is abandonment and neglect. Maita, age 49, a citizen. Her offender is her son, age 16. Her situation is verbal, psychological, and physical abuse. Ditas, age 46, a permanent resident. Her perpetrator is Australian, age 60. Her situation is verbal, psychological, and financial abuse. And Rodora, 29 years old, a student visa holder. Her perpetrator is Australian, age 55. Her situation is physical assault, verbal, and financial abuse. They have 2 children involved. It is fair to say that the profile of my clients demonstrate the general profile of Filipinos in interracial relationships and marriages. As you can see, there's a big age difference in the case of Ditas and Rodora. These are some of the mainstream services I refer the clients to, such as Safe Steps, In Touch, Orange Door, among others. These are just some of the feedbacks I received from assisted clients that we help. nare-relieve, malaking bagay ang may kausap, nawawala ang stress at depression. I feel relieved. It's a big time to have someone to talk to. My stress and depression disappear. Malaking tulong na may suporta sa mga family violence victim survivor at mabilis ang aksyon ng grupo nyo. It's a great help that there's support for victim survivor like me and your groups acts quickly. Malaking benepisyo ang helpline. Nagkaroon ako ng peace of mind, pag-asa at lakas ng loob. The helpline is a huge benefit to me. I gained a peace of mind, hope, and confidence. Tinulungan ninyo akong ipaglaban ang karapatan ko at ma-refer sa mga serbisyo na makakatulong sa akin. You've helped me fight for my rights and referred me to services that can help me. Are some feedbacks from client. These are some of the posters. This flyer is in Tagalog language, which has been posted widely on social media. Another poster showing an elderly victim of family violence. And another poster showing a male victim of family violence. In English, it says, mahalaga ka, which is you are valued. It is important to take care of our mental health. The world can be overwhelming, yet there is a safe and non-judgmental space that listens with respect, compassion, and understanding. The Silent Witness Network have a free and confidential counseling support. The TSWN Network, the Silent Witness Network, the SWN helpline is 0490-527-346. We are open Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. So these are our flaggers. Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much. And we hope, we aim for healthy family relationship. At nandito po ang The Silent Witness Networks para sa lahat ng Pilipino. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat. Thank you, Lara. Now, it's also, good news to all of you. We are on track when it comes to timing. Amazing. We have finished a lot, and we are now going to listen to a very inspiring woman, the president of the Australian Hazara Women's Friendship Network, and who is a very valued board member of the Silent Witness Network. Ladies and gentlemen, let's listen to Ms. Zakia Baig.
Hello, everybody. It's Zakia Baig from Australian Hazara Women's Friendship Network. Thank you for inviting me in such a valuable session and information session, and connecting me with other leaders and inspiring people. I think the topic of domestic violence is not new. So it has been there always. So hopefully we came together and do something to do our part and, help those vulnerable ladies, children, and sometimes men also. So with the support of other organizations and authorities, of course, we will reach somewhere. We will go and help those people who says that this is Australia, this is not the countries we are coming from. So there will be help. I hope Melba and the Silent Witness Network has a good structure, and they have started, and I've seen the report here. This is so amazing, and I'm very impressed. Of course, next time we hope that Hazara people also get the funding. And we'll do our job to help the women who are at their home but feel not secure. So I hope for a good outcome from this project if we get. So I have written a poetry as I'm a bit writer too. So yeah, Melba said you read your poetry. So I read it for you guys, if you allow me. This is kind of feeling the pain of other ladies as a leader. So I feel that a woman can say that I want to have a mirror that could take me in a world where gender doesn't count, where power doesn't mean, where I am a person, not a woman only. I want to have a mirror that would be as wide as the world, as bright as a day. How green my world, how beautiful me. If I had such mirror, that would be. I want to have a mirror, but I think every day in the morning, is such mirror there for me? Or am I lost under the dust of time, the time that galloped and passed over me? Thank you. This is a kind of as a woman, that those who are in danger, they must be feeling like this, that the time has covered them in a dust, everything is passing, but they are ignored. So they should not be ignored anymore. We have come together. We are here to help them. Thank you very much, Melba, thank you for your time, for your listening. Thanks a lot.
Zakia, we do know also that you are at present in crisis as a community because of what's happening in Afghanistan. And we do hope that through all the evacuations, some of those women, who may be suffering there in Afghanistan will be able to join us here in Australia.
Yes, we are. Yes, there is a school we are running. 250 students and women are getting skilled and education. So they are stuck there. So hopefully some of them. Yeah.
Well, they haven't yet listened to our Women at Risk proposal, but anyway, once they're here, we can continue on the lobbying.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Melba, for you.
Thanks, Zakia.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. Now, I'm sorry to say that we can have a break. We cannot have a break. We just have to go on. It's probably better that way while the momentum is there. So we are now going to our panel discussion. And here in our panel discussion, we have invited 3 former victims and are now survivors of family violence. They're all Filipino women, and they come from different stages in life and also economic backgrounds. Let me first start what I've asked them. We did a bit of a rehearsal to actually see how best to present to you their stories. So how we're going to do it is they're going to, each of the 3 will be talking about their story very briefly. And in their story, they will talk about the forms of abuse that they've been through, how they got help, the cultural factors that affected their decisions, and the impact on themselves as women and on their children. Okay. 2 of them did not have to be anonymous. One has to be anonymous because of her work. So she will be wearing a face mask so she cannot be identified, and she is using a different name. Perhaps we can start off with her, Encarnacion de Guzman. Can you please put her on the limelight, Miss May Zafra? We'll start with Encarnacion de Guzman. Can you move the spotlight to Encarnacion, May?
Yes. Encarnacion, can you try to speak?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
Yes. I'm just trying to find you in the camera.
After the 3 have spoken.
Oh, yes, I can see. I can see.
After the 3 have spoken, we're going to have an open forum. So it's really great that we have enough time. Okay. Hi, Encarnacion.
Hi.
You can start now.
Okay, can I start now?
Yep.
Yes.
My husband, now deceased, and I met in the university. That meeting ended up with us getting eventually married and having 5 children. Abuse, however, started even while we were still in the university. It was in the form of more of controlling how I talk, with whom I should converse when there's a group, how I dressed. And at that time, well, I didn't really know that it was a kind of abuse. I was young, he was young, and everybody was young. So, and I didn't mind it because, yeah, well, I didn't have any notion of what domestic violence or abuse is. So it continued, and then it went on when we got married and had children. It went on to more serious forms of physical abuse, of family abuse, which included physical abuse, mental abuse, psychological abuse, emotional abuse. Not financial though, because I was working and earning a lot of money too. So that was not in the thing. Now, Councillor Barrera, she said something which sort of had a which I thought was very relevant to what was happening to me, because he said that it was the idea of what happens in the family should stay in the family, and I've had that feeling all along. So when the abuse was getting serious, I was always of the mind that, look, I got myself into this. I will try and resolve it in the way that I think it should be resolved. But what is really happening is, violence happens and then it dies down, and then the family goes on and becomes like a regular family again until it starts to happen again, and then well, I mean, what I'm saying is the cycle goes on, and pretty soon it becomes the regular, because becomes a normal in the family, and even the children have adjusted to the idea of, oh yeah, there's violence and then a lull and everything's okay. We go to family picnics, we attend parties, and even the children have adjusted to behaving as though everything was normal, you know. So since it went that way, I thought, well, I guess that's the way it should be. And you know how resilient Filipinos are. And someone said, the Filipino women's concept of suffering and martyrdom. I think I had that, right? So I thought, well, suffering, I can suffer. But what I should have had in mind was, even, well, the children were resilient, but I didn't really think about the effect that it had on them. In that way, now that I'm thinking about it, during this pandemic, right? Because we've been in a lockdown, I've thought about how neglectful I was to have not thought of what the effect was on my children. So and then we were petitioned by my sister to get to Australia, and I thought, oh, good. I'm sure that when we get to another country, it will be different for all of us. Well, I should have known that we were the same people, and a change of setting, a change of country will not change anything. So yeah, the abuse went on, and we have been used to it, so we went on as if nothing was happening. And I was working such that in a profession where I was helping out women who were in a domestic violence situation. And it was so funny because I was helping them, and I was in fact one of them. And it was only after so many years of domestic violence that a friend of mine who knows me and who has known me working in that field said, "Look, why don't you just get help? I will help you." And then I thought, yeah, why not? So it was then that I took her help, and I was referred to the people who were going to help me, who helped me actually. But then the children were then adults, right? And so whatever harm or damage have been done already. And thinking about it now, I am really regretting the idea of not getting out of the situation when I could have a long time ago. I guess that's what I want to say now.
Encarnacion, can you talk about the role of the police?
Oh, okay. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, when we were in Australia, when the violence was getting really bad, I called the police several times, but their attitude was such that it seemed like they were siding with my husband, because you know how it is when you are in a violent situation, a woman, then you're hysterical, right? Because you're the victim. You cry, you hardly can talk. And my husband, the perpetrator, was very calm, presented himself as a really kind and, with good manners. And I was just a historical mess, right? So they just went away without really doing anything about what has happened. They just said something like I'm sure you can sort this out by yourself. And that was that. So, and also it took me a long time before I got the phone to call the police, because we have been trained by my husband, the father, to say that, look, we're in a different country. What is happening in the family should just stay in the family. Nobody else should know what is happening. This is our problem. Now, I got I was at that time I was already going to counseling, community counseling, and I was told to get an intervention order against my husband to get him out of the house. And indeed, we went to the magistrate court. My husband didn't attend, and the magistrate just said something to the effect that I'm not going to get this man out of his house, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't remember anymore what we were saying, because I couldn't believe that he was not prepared to get my husband out of the house. So at that time, domestic violence, I guess, was a very important problem, or not regarded as a very important problem, so that, yeah, you stay a victim even after you've ceased sought the help of the people you thought would help you, the police. Yeah, it also happened one time we were in the car, and I think at that time we were arguing, and I think my husband parked or something like that, and the police came over and he says, "What's happening?" And I started, hysterical saying what was happening, and he said, "Oh, okay, okay. I think you can sort this out when you get home." So that was the idea.
Yeah.
You're left to yourselves to sort things out and when it's obvious that you cannot do it.
Thanks, Encarnacion. And I understand. It took you how many years before you finally
Oh my God, about
got him out?
30 years, 35 years.
So this was really a long suffering
Yes, it is.
situation. Thank you so much, Encarnacion, for, I know, I mean, I can feel the pain as you speak.
Yeah.
But we're all here to actually find solutions. So let us now listen to our next storyteller, Rodeline Daguplo. Can you put the spotlight on Rodeline?
Yes. Adeline, can you try to
Hello.
speak, please?
Hello. Hi, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Rodeline is, I may have to tell the audience that Rodeline has really moved forward really well, in the sense that from being a victim, she's won many Mrs. Philippines, Mrs. Universe awards, meaning beauty contests for mothers. Okay, so here she is, as you can see. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come and share my experience to everyone. I hope that, sorry, I'm a bit emotional. I haven't started yet. I hope that I can help other women to survive domestic violence and eventually get over with it and get the help that they need. So I would like to start my story. So I had been a victim of domestic violence for the last 12 years. And 4 years ago, I finally got out in there. And I met my husband through online dating. So my friend signed me up. And then I was a teacher in the Philippines. My mom just died on that year. So I am very vulnerable. And though I was a teacher, like I become the breadwinner of the family. So I met my partner, my ex-husband. I did fall in love with him. I trusted him. He was he's at the start he's really perfect. Like it's kind of a man of my dream. So he come to the Philippines. I met him. Everything smoothly. I come here. I after 4 months I got the job because he wasn't working. He's living with his parents. He just I am the third ex-wife now. So he got 2 ex-wife from the past, but I did not know that they also suffer domestic violence or family violence, and both of them have restraining order. So in the last 12 years, I suffered physical, verbal, physiological, emotional, and I almost died in his hand. So I did not ask help because I was scared, and he always said to me that he's going to deport me, and even though I'm already a permanent resident, I did not know. I was really innocent, and I did not know what is domestic violence then. Though I am educated, but I have no idea about domestic violence, that I could ask help and all that stuff. So until on 4 years ago, I almost killed him. So I decided myself to call the police. So the police helped me, give the referral to Safe Step, Orange Door, Good Shepherd, Anglicare Victoria, to guide me, and I actually get out from our house and left him with our house. But he really, even I'm out already, it took him 4 years to give me the equity of my house. And my son really suffered the trauma, and also suffered post-traumatic stress disorder. Sorry, that's why I'm very emotional. Yes, and until now, my son is going through with lots of occupational therapist session, and actually I just arrived from the session from the doctor for him for psychiatric assessment. So now I am trying to fix the damage caused by the family violence. So I am thankful that I am out there. I am sure there's lots of women like me before that they don't know where to ask help. And that's why I'm thankful that as Filipino, it's hard for us to get the help that we want, because we are scared. We don't know who to ask help. We are in our culture, we kind of like, yeah, as much as we can take it until we almost die. That's the time, like, you know, that's the time we act to get help. Sorry. And my message to all, to the fellow survivors or who are suffering, please don't suffer in silence. There's lots of people, there's lots of agency that willing to help us, and there I am really thankful that they are there for me when I needed help. And that's about I can share. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Rodeline. Relax ka muna. Okay.
Sorry.
Maraming salamat. I mean, yeah, we understand that you have just come from your son's assessment, and you've told me how, 4 years after, the problems are still there because the impact on your children is such that you cannot really say that you have finally got out of it, isn't it? So we will listen first to the third storyteller, and then we will go back to all of you. Thanks, Rodeline. Now we're going to listen to a businesswoman. Can you put the spotlight on Jasmine Flores?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Jasmine is a businesswoman, very accomplished. And I really thank her so much, for being brave enough to actually face the group and tell her story. Jasmine?
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Hi. I got emotional with Rodeline already. Thank you for the opportunity to share. I'm sharing out of being able to inspire and empower other people like me, and also to help probably a lot more. I guess my story is a bit different. I feel for Ate and Rodeline as well. We had a good start. We had a good life, and things changed. My ex-husband had depression, a lot of problems in the many areas of life, and then people change, and in that change they become a different person, and the depression has caused him to be another person that he wasn't. And it was a surprise for both of us and for the family. And then I became the outlet of the depression, and this was way before COVID, so there were many factors affecting it. I guess that's another topic, you know, the depression of people in different stages of life. But then things have changed, and I became the outlet of the depression in a form of violence. It went on for a few years and totally kept it, because at the time we have a business, he has a good career, and we're protecting a lot of things, and I personally don't have a support system in Australia, even up to now. So I mean, immediate family. So it got worse and worse and affected. We have 3 young kids at the time, girls, and just like Ate before, and I wish I put my hand up for help, and I wish I thought of it for, at least for the kids, for the girls. I got out of it because I had to go to doctors for my other medical treatments, and I couldn't hide it anymore. And I was so thankful my GP, who's been looking after me for a long time, helped me really a lot. I think she was the only person at the time who helped me with everything going through. So it's all documented through the GP. With the whole journey, it was the darkest days of everything, of personal, emotional, everything in our life, and especially the young girls at the time. They're teenagers now, and I think the good part of my story, it was it was all physical, mental, emotional violence. He seek help, I seek help, and I think the good part that came out of it is, you know, you become strong, you become a stronger person, a different version of yourself. You evolved from the situation, but it really helped. Me to be more passionate about life, value my life even more, because I couldn't imagine myself at the time looking back at it, and in a severe depression mode is really very life changing. So now I have forgiven. We are better. It's just that it's still a part. It will always be a part of your life journey, your life story. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. One thing very common in their experiences is really the impact on their children. All of them are still in that space of worry, you know, how their children will come out of, you know, these Jasmine's children are young adults. Rodeline has really small ones, five. I think one is 5 and the other is 8 years old. And Encarnations are really older adults now. You know, three of them, 3 or 4 of them, but older adults who continue to have the impact in their, you know, in their mental health, you know, of 30 years of suffering, you know, from violence of the father. I mean, it was a mother who took, who got all the violence, but they saw all of that. And that is why the Silent Witness Network is really about the children. That's why we call it the silent witness. The silent witness in any family violence situation, really, the silent witnesses are the children. Now, we have time for open forum, and if I may ask the permission of the audience, if you would like to continue on, it's 4:46, and we're we said we'll finish at 5, but if you would like to continue on, we can continue on until 5:15. Will you be happy to stay on? So we can have a good discussion from the panel, our panelists here. So anyone who may need to go, you're happy, you're welcome to go. But those who would like to continue on, we shall now open the open forum. So if you would like to ask a question or comment, and I can see there are a lot of comments now on the chat section. Thank you so much. But those who really would like to ask more about the situation that our panelists have been under, we're happy to take your questions. Use your reactions. You can see the reactions on the bottom there. Click that, and there will be a section there that's to say raise your hand. And once we see the hand, then our technical person there, May, will allow you and unmute yourself. Don't forget to unmute yourself. Okay. So any comment, feedback, question from anyone? Who would like to start off? Okay, we'll start with Conjen.
Hi.
and then Councillor Jasmine. Okay.
Yeah. Well, very heartrending stories, but something we have seen in many instances in our long years of dealing with migrants in our career as foreign students. I guess one lesson, a common thread in stories.
Excuse me, hang on.
Yeah.
If there's anyone whose phone is not muted, please mute it. Okay, continue on, Conjen.
So as I was saying, if there is one thing common in the stories is that to learn from is that we should speak up early.
Indeed.
Being so silent, maybe the perpetrator thinks it's okay, right? And also, we unknowingly think that the kids think it's okay for the family, but they're watching. We often underestimate the children, but they would like to listen from you and maybe from the other parent what is happening. So if you could have discussed it with your children, and then the other one could have discussed it with them as well. Maybe there was a way out in minimizing this violence, or maybe there is a door for you to live in a graceful way, in not really disrupting the mental wellness of your children. So that one, speak out, be brave. When you move on, siguro, not to be bitter about it, because your children again are watching you. Because if you have moved on and they see that you are happier in a happier and safer space, they will definitely grow and develop as better persons and probably have lesser baggage with them.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Jasmine.
Thank you so much, Melba. I don't have a question, but I really felt it brings brings back the memory where I was a volunteer at one of these very similar organization as Wire Women Information Referral Center in the city. So for quite a few years, more than 5 years. So yeah, in the city. So just to see something in the West is really encouraging. So that you're doing, Melba, just congratulations for this. It's amazing to have this. We need this sort of organization in the West, because at that time, remember, a lot of calls come from the West and from the North. So I really commend your work, and it's really also for the three the ladies who share the stories. It is I just felt very touched. It just feel very sad at the same time, emotional to hear the stories. So it's that encourage people to speak up, which is a great thing to do, and we support each other. And especially during lockdown, a lot of just domestic violence is on the rise. And it's great to see the community is actually taking initiative, and so to share and support each other. And especially the men, the boys are coming in to join. This is important, so important. We want to see more men to come on board as well. And just wanted to say thank you for inviting me. And it's just amazing to see what you are doing to support the community. Thank you.
Thanks, Jasmine. Now let's listen to the men. Councillor Tran, and then Paul Watson of Victoria Police.
Thank you, Melba. And thank you to all the women who told their stories. I think those stories are extremely, not just sad, but super empowering. I guess a bit of context. I am too young to have my own family, way too young. But I think from anything I've learned from the women in my life, especially my family, on my mum's side, I have 6 aunties. So I definitely understand the importance of having women in your life, the power and the influence that they have in the way you're raised and the way you treat other people, I think in particular. Sort of on the legal side of things, I, just like Councillor Jasmine, am a volunteer, or was a volunteer down at Fitzroy Legal Services. If there are any questions that you do have in relation to what you can do and what is in your rights, when it comes to these sort of matters, when it comes to domestic violence, when it comes to getting out of these situations, feel free to contact these legal services, because they will be more than happy to assist you in these matters. They will be more than happy to sit down with you and do these papers and do whatever needs to be done to help you get out of these difficult situations. And once again, I just think that when it comes to these sort of matters, it starts, when it comes to men and when it comes to women, when it comes to anybody, it starts when they're young. Having good examples, starting with education, and programs such as these are so important, because when you start them young, when you start the education early, that's when you start having people who grow up understanding about mutual respect, healthy relationships, and more importantly, about creating a community that will always be welcoming. So once again, thank you so much to those brave women who have escaped these issues, and of course, they're brave enough to share their stories, and to Melba and the rest of the team.
Thanks, Anthony. Let's listen to Paul.
Thank you, Melba, and thank you very much to the brave women who told their stories just now. It's very powerful stuff, and on behalf of police in this state anyway, I sincerely apologise for the poor experiences that victims do have when they call police and ask for help. Unfortunately, it happens too often that they don't get the service that they should and that they deserve. We are trying to change, and we're trying to be better. We are trending towards 100,000 incidents of family violence that are reported to police every year. And we don't get all of those right. I would hope that we're getting more right than what we once did. Certainly, we've gone through enormous reform over the last 5 to 10 years, and that reform's continuing. Assistant Commissioner Callaway is extremely committed to this cause. She's a very strong woman in her own right, and you can be assured that we are working hard to provide a better service to every single family violence victim. Can I just make a couple of points? One, I want to reiterate the notion brought up earlier about speaking up as early as possible. I think one of the issues that victims take upon themselves is that they are in some way to blame for their partner's behaviour. And I just want to emphasise that that is in no way the case, and nor are you responsible for solving your partner's issues. I think that is a big issue, and it's a reason that we keep victims tend to keep things within the family unit. A couple of other points I'd like to make. In a perfect world, we would love for all victims to come to police. But we know that for a variety of reasons, some of which are our fault, at least historically, but there are a range of reasons people don't want to get police involved, and we understand that. What I'd like to emphasise is that you tell someone. There has been in this state, and we are trying to get this up and operating again, and an anonymous reporting option that actually doesn't, you don't lodge that report through police, but those reports may come to police from an intelligence perspective, but then it's not, there's no names involved. But the whole point of that reporting option is that you are telling someone and then getting access to services. So there was one of these options out in the southeast of Melbourne, but we are working with RMIT, we're working with the Victorian government and the Commonwealth government at the moment to try and get a statewide option off the ground in that regard. Couple of other things, and sorry if I'm talking a bit all over the place, but lockdown, we have seen a rise in cases. It's a very difficult time for a lot of people, and obviously tensions boil over, but that shouldn't be used as an excuse either. This is overwhelmingly a male problem, and I'm buoyed by what's been said by a couple of people that we do need more men to get involved in this and take ownership of this. This is not, for too long, this has been treated as a women's issue, and it's a women's issue only in the fact that they are by far and away the majority of victims, but it is males who are the one perpetrating the violence on our loved ones. It's interesting listening to some of the stories. Look, a lot of the barriers, and I'm sure there are some that are very unique to the Filipino community, but a lot of what I heard, the barriers to reporting are barriers for everyone. So I guess I'm raising that point just to emphasize again how important it is to tell someone about what you're going through. You can't get help without telling anyone. And if it's not us, yeah, just tell someone, whether it's a family member, whether it's a colleague at work, whoever you can reach out to, let someone know. I've talked about the one last thing I'd like to say, Melba, is I'm really happy to continue this dialogue with anyone outside of this forum, and particularly with yourself going forward. We are constantly trying to reach out to niche groups in the community who are representing certain sectors. And we know that core communities have a particular issue around reporting to police. So anything that we can do to try and overcome that by building relationships, we would, I'm more than happy to do. So we've made the connection now, Melba. So yeah, let's keep the dialogue going. Thanks. And thanks very much for organising this.
Thank you very much, Paul. We will really take that offer. Now let's listen to Councillor Jennie Barrera.
Thank you, Melba. I just wanted to thank the speakers, the three panel members, for sharing their stories. It's incredibly difficult to do, and they're incredibly brave to share their stories with us. But I also wanted to say I sensed guilt, feelings of guilt still, particularly in a couple of the panel speakers, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that. I am one of those child survivors of family violence. My mother, with her 2 children, escaped when I was 5. We were found and we came back to the house, and it was 12 years before we were in a position to make that escape again. And that was through my dealings with a neighbour and a part-time job that I got at the age of 16, and saved enough money by the time I was 17 to assist my mother to make that escape. And I think it's really important to acknowledge, particularly for people who have been victims of family violence and survivors of family violence, that the reasons that women don't leave with their children are complex. They're incredibly complex. And I think the last thing we need to do is blame mothers for not leaving, even though they can see sometimes the impacts on their children. This is a man's problem. This is about gender inequality. That is what is at the heart of it. It's not the fault of the mothers or the women, and I think we need to be really clear about that. Yes, we need to speak up, but the reasons why women don't speak up are often complex and multi-layered, and there are many barriers for women to speak up. It is gender inequality, but some women can face other barriers, whether that's because you're from a non-English speaking background, whether you have a disability, it might be your Aboriginality. In my mother's case, it was having a disability, as well as being a victim of family violence. So I think it's incredibly important that we do acknowledge that. I want to say to the women on the panel who have survived, wasn't your fault, and children will survive, they will make their own way. In many respects, my early experiences have made me the person who I am today. I wouldn't take that away ever. It gave me an incredibly important and close relationship with my mother, which I also wouldn't take away, which I perhaps would not have had we not had those experiences. Finally, I think it's important that people know that you may not want to go to the police. And Paul, thank you for your apology. And yes, there have been many reforms, even in schools. When I was a young child, this was not something that was talked about in schools. So those education programs are incredibly important. Reforms have happened, but not enough's happened, and there's still so much to do. And the numbers of cases, yes, we're reporting more, but they are also trending upwards. So apologies are good, but be the person that makes that change within Victoria Police. Talk to your colleagues. Don't just say sorry one day. Continue to fight that battle on behalf of the women who need you to do that. And finally, if you are frightened to speak to someone or to the police, most community organisations now under family violence legislation are now mandated to deal with this. So you can report to an orange door, you can report to a community organisation, you can seek help confidentially, and you can be referred for help. So there are more avenues in this day and age that people can report this. Yes, speak up, but also know that for some women, it takes them a long time to get to the point where they can speak up. And sometimes it has to be the intervention of somebody else that makes it happen. Keep up the great work, Melba and the team. You're such important supports for so many people.
Thank you. And I'd like to actually following that, to tell all our councillors here, we are really, really so honored that you all, 8 to 10 councillors came into this forum today. We really need you because we are not lacking in talents and skills and passion and commitment within the Filipino community, and that is also other culturally diverse communities. They're in the same situation. But the Filipino community, we have an edge because of our long historical experience, from the 80s and 90s. And yet here we are grappling with resources. We don't get funding. It's always the large organizations that are getting the funding, and we just have to settle with crumbs. So we really would like to consolidate this, partnership with councils. We would like to sit down with you, and plan how we can even start working on a Western region-wide type of response, for culturally diverse communities, of course, led by the Filipino community as being the first to do this. We need culturally specific model for referral, and that's what we are doing now. And we are so proud of the fact that we are making a headway with no resources at all. Okay, our telephone hotline, is unfunded. It is unfunded. Okay, but we are making a headway. We need your help. I'm talking to all the councillors here. So now let's listen to Licia Murphy from Maribyrnong, Senior Planner.
Hi, Tita Melba, and thank you for organising such a great event. And I'd just like to thank also the survivors that spoke, oh God, I'm getting emotional, so bravely as well. My question is, I think an extension of your message, Tita Melba. If resources weren't a thing, if you weren't short on resources, what would be, I guess, the Filipino solution, or the culturally and linguistically diverse kind of appropriate response to ending family violence in our community?
Well, our solution is really the helpline at the moment. And of course, the primary prevention activities, which May and the others have started writing about, planning, and we are now seeking more grants from various councils. But the helpline is really, Lara can perhaps talk more about it. It's free, and we, at the moment, we're not funded, but the counseling support that she's giving to these women, when these women need help, okay, and then they are referred to, do you think that stops? No, they come back to Lara. Yeah. So Lara, can you please be the one to explain how you have a continuing relationship of counseling so many of these clients that you have referred, to other service providers for their family violence problems. Unmute yourself, Lara.
Yes. When the client called, and after I assessed and referred them, we still continue to do the counseling sessions. And because family violence really can have a lifetime trauma, but there is there is a hope and recovery. As everything, there is always hope and recovery for trauma and for all our suffering. And also, I think we need to, for the Filipino community, because Filipino community can have this patriarchal society that, because of gender inequality, I hope women here, all the migrant women here, will know what is a healthy relationship is. And to speak up because there is shame and stigma. So what is a healthy, what is love is? A love test is patient and kind, not abusive or violent, and to speak up because, yeah, thanks.
There are others who have been with us in this journey. Murcia, you might want to speak, or May, you've been through the difficulty of raising awareness within the Filipino community. Would you like to speak, Murcia?
Thank you very much, Melba. Yeah, I'm having
on the spot.
I was having goosebumps while listening to May and the wonderful women who share their stories, because this Project Nayan has been TSWN's inaugural project, and I was the inaugural staff. So I was the only staff then. So we had to really make use of whatever limited resources we had then and now. So Melba's right, we have been running on fumes, but we did, and we have accomplished so much. So there's really intense pride reviewing all those accomplishments that May has presented earlier. But all of these are just the tip of the iceberg. There's been a lot of groundwork, community engagement, engaging community leaders, both young and old. And it has been challenging to get people on board in the community because this is really a sensitive matter. Still, there's this shame and stigma attached to it, and people refuse to talk. But we sailed on, and I'm so thankful to all the community leaders who are now out here, who I've been working with during my time, and May and Lara and Melba continue to work with today. But yeah, beneath the surface are all the hard work and dedication of the community and everyone who have helped set the foundation for this work that we are doing today. And I also echo what Councillor Jennie Barrera said, that it is indeed a paradox. On one hand, there's sadness. It is quite sad that we are having this conversation about this issue, because in the first place, it's not supposed to be an issue. On the other hand, I'm happy that we're continuing this conversation, and we're gaining so much support from councillors, from police, and from community to continue rallying towards prevention of family violence and prevention of violence against women. So I would just like to share in relation to the what we can do as a community, and really it's I started the hotline before Lara, so I got I did referrals from community members who were hesitating to seek help from mainstream services. So it's not just the police that they have this hesitancy with, but also with mainstream services, even those so-called multicultural services. And I think that's because they wanted to be able to speak with someone who comes from their cultural background, so they can use the language, so they can express themselves, because really there's a lot of cultural nuances that English cannot capture, and that can only be expressed using your language. So that's one of the significance of ethno specific support systems, like a helpline for the Filipino community, for instance. So I would just like to cite an example of a woman I've spoken to. She was about to leave when she first contacted the TSWN. And so I could really hear her distress during that time. So I've assisted her, to leave, to seek help from Safe Steps. Eventually, she got out of the relationship with her autistic son, got assistance for housing, for food relief. That was during lockdown, which was really very difficult then, because the services cannot also help her in person. So everything was done on the phone. She got assistance for Centrelink payments. And I could hear as time went on that when she spoke to me, there's a different aura. You know, she could tell jokes. She could laugh at herself. She could laugh at her son, and also look back at her situation in more positive light. And then Lara just texted me recently informing me that that woman contacted the hotline and saying that she got her permanent residency and that she was thankful for the assistance that we've given her. I contacted her and we continued the engagement and the relationship. So it's not anymore in terms of assisting her for a family violence situation, but it's more of a sustained engagement, sustained friendship, sustained relationship. So I think that's the importance of an ethno specific support system, although it can also be done in a multicultural setting, of course. But what I'm trying to point out is that sustained engagement is important. And so I joined Melba and TSWN in calling for continuing support from all of you, whether the support is in terms of in-kind support, thoughts and ideas, but more importantly, communities like this also need funding. So we need, core operations. This is a core operation. A helpline is a core service of community organizations, supporting community members experiencing or are at risk of family violence. So yes, I joined TSWN in rallying for support from all of you for that sustained engagement with community members. So it's not just helping them live and then that's it. So they need continuing support. We need a continuing connection. I could keep on and on, but I won't. So I'll stop now. Thank you. Thank you.
Salamat, Marisha. Thank you so much. Now, is there anyone else who would like to give a feedback or ask a question? Because the time it's 5:18, and I think we've had a really long time from 3:30, and thank you so much. I mean, this has been such a very, very productive discussion. And I just hope that, and the councillors are still around. I can see Mayor Kathy Majdlik, Councillor Julie Shannon of Melton. They were asking, actually, the mayor and Julie has asked, how is it in Melton? Actually, we invited you. We haven't got the funding, but we submitted the funding application because we thought if the council finally decides to fund the Melton part of the work, where many Filipinos are actually. I mean, the biggest population of Filipinos are in Melton, really. That, it will be fantastic that you will actually see already where we are heading, from where we came from and where we are heading. I can see the hand of Councillor Cooklam. Councillor, can you unmute, Cook?
Hi, Melba and everyone. Sorry, I was late before. I have another meeting. So that's about 3 meetings today. But this is a wonderful forum, Melba. I just congratulate you and the team and 3 brave, wonderful women sharing her story. And there are more out there, but who knows, this is very, very good and so wonderful that, you commit to that. And I know you're very, very active with the community, and no doubt. So it's really, really sincerely, and thank you for keep up the good work.
Thank you. Okay, well, I guess that's a good way to end this wonderful that's another one, and I cannot not take this woman, Sheila Bayard of the United Nations Association of Women in Australia. Sheila, unmute. Yeah.
Thank you, Melba. I said something to the chat and I hope people would read it, but I'm feeling very old now, thinking back to the long ago days when women's health in the West was not yet started, when FIT turned into VU back in the days of Joan Kerner.
Right.
And I think I first met Melba down in Footscray at the inner West, wasn't inner region Migrant Resource Centre, but I also had known about the Centre for Filipino Concerns up in North Melbourne. So it's terrific to see old friends, new friends, and also a terrific outcome, isn't it, of Gender Vic, and the idea that each municipality is going to do an audit of where the money is going and how it's supporting women in our communities. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Pleasure.
And you still look young, Mayor Sheila.
Thank you, everyone. I must go. Goodbye. Well
and
done.
Thank you, everyone, too. For those of you, we will certainly send you perhaps a written summary of what transpired, and we will definitely follow up those who have offered to help us, especially amongst the councils and, of course, Victoria Police Poll. We have a lot to discuss, and anyone who would like to support the work that we do at the Silent Witness Network, please, get in touch with us. And I will be also hoping to have a long discussion with Consul General Maria Salcedo, because with the help of the consulate, we can do a lot more.
2 thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Thank you. We can now leave. Thank you so much.
Hey, Melba, can you send the link? Can you send the link so I can send to other people?
Yes, we will. We might, would you like the recording of this to be on Facebook?
Yeah. We can send you the link later on. Thank you for
okay.
asking.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melba.
Mabuhay tayong lahat. Long live. Mabuhay is Filipino in long live. Okay? Bye.